Welcome uh, to today's session. Today is Thursday, July 2nd, 2020. And let me know if you have a hard time listening to me. I'm hoping that you guys can hear me okay. So I think it's working. Okay. So today we are going to look at. Let me just switch this one over here. Okay. Uh, okay. Thinking now it's better. So today we are looking at chapter 3 of the book Fundamentals of Christian Education. I may actually do, let's say, 30 videos, and then I will switch to a different book because that's a pretty long book. And so I'm not going to do, let me see, like the whole book in one setting, in one sitting. I might do another video of that later on. But right now I'm going to try to do about 30 videos. So maybe it could be, I don't know, maybe 3 or maybe 7 chapters, possibly. I don't know. Okay, so and today we're going to look at an appeal for our students. And here it is mostly speaking about Christian students, and more specifically, Seventh day Adventist students. But of course, it does relate to other students and anyone who would like to actually uh, live according to the Bible principle, not just Seventh day Adventists, but it's primarily to Seventh day Adventist Bible students. It says, we have had many fears that students who attend Battle Creek College, and Battle Creek College is actually, at that time, was a Seventh day Adventist. Actually, I think it is still a Seventh day Adventist institution. We had we have had many fears that students who attend Battle Creek College will fail to receive all the benefit they might in the way of religious culture from the families that furnish them rooms. Some families do not enjoy the sweet influences of the religion of Christ, although they are professed Christians. The influence with which this class of persons exert over the students is more objectionable than that of those who make no pretensions to godliness. These irreligious, irresponsible formalists may stand forth before the world in pretentious robes, while, like the barren fig tree, they are wholly destitute of that which alone our Saviour values, fruit to his glory. The work wrought on the heart by the grace of God they know nothing about. These persons exert an influence which is detrimental to all with whom they associate. There should be committees to see that the homes provided for the students are not with mere formalists who have no burden for the souls of the dear youth. And yes, today we have a lot of people professing Jesus Christ. I would say they actually, let me just do one thing first. They they actually they like to they like to say they like to talk about Jesus, or I should say they like to claim the Christian names, but denying the lifestyle. And that's when you talk about godliness. You can always talk about how godly you are, but if your action does not align with your word, then whatever you say about you being godly may in turn be the opposite or quite the opposite. And one way to see that is, how do you deal with people? You know, how you deal with people that also are Christians. Do you work with them, or do you just like them don't like their presence around you because they may be holding the Bible more than you would? And so when you look at their influence and you see that they really want to follow the Bible and what the Bible says, and you don't like it, that shows you're not truly following Jesus Christ. Just a thought to consider in the future. Very much may be done for those who are deprived of the softening, subduing influences of the home circle. The spirit manifested by many shows that the language of the heart is, am I my brother's keeper? And so they're having that Cain attitude. You know, when Cain, after Cain killed Abel, God said to Cain, Cain, where is your brother? Well, am I my brother's keeper? Cain asked. And in reality, yes, we are all our own brother's keeper. I have no burden or responsibility aside from my own family. I have no special burden or interest for the students who occupy rooms in my house. I would ask these persons if they have burdens and feel responsibilities for their own children. I'm sorry to see so little anxiety on the part of some parents that all the influences surrounding their children should be favorable to the formation of Christian character, but those who do not have soul burdens for their own loved ones should not selfishly confine their interest to their own family. Jesus is our example in all things, but he has given us no example of such selfishness as we see manifested by many who profess to be his followers. If we abide in Christ and his love abides in us, we shall love those for whom Christ died, for he has commanded his followers to love one another as he has loved them. Do we who profess his name obey this injunction? If we fail in this point, we shall in others also. Had Christ studied his own profit, convenience, and pleasure, the world would have been left to perish in its sin and corruption, which is very true. Um, Now, sometimes you may be more close to a friend than your own family, and that makes sense. And especially if the people that are around you in your families are way older than you, then you tend to not be able to cope with them. I have five siblings, and I'm only close to two of them out of all the five. And it's not that I hate the other ones, but they are not close to my age, and so I don't really hang out with them. Uh, but the other two, I just talk to them most of the times. And yes, I have best friends, but I have best friends that I'm closer to than my other siblings, but none of my best friends are closer to me than those two siblings that I have that I really talk to all the time. So it can happen that it's not because you don't like people, but you're not comfortable with certain people. Nevertheless, nonetheless, if they are in need, you should always do your best for them, the same way that I do. Even though I'm not close to some of them, uh, yet I help them because they are from my family. Even people that are not in my family that I'm not close to, I may know them around. I may be an acquaintance with them. But if they need help and they ask me for help, then of course I'm gonna help them. And so that's the attitude of a Christian, basically those who want to follow the example of Jesus Christ, not merely not merely saying that I'm a Christian, but living the Christian lifestyle. So a strange indifference in reference to the salvation of souls seems to have taken possession of many professed Christians. Sinners may be perishing all around them, and they have no particular burden in the matter. Will Christ say to these indifferent ones, "Well done, good and faithful servant, enter thou into the joy of thy Lord"? The joy of Christ consists of in seeing souls redeemed through the sacrifice he has made for them. Um, so I was in a different state. I came back on Monday, but I think on Saturday morning I was talking to a lady. She's fairly young. I mean, at least college educated already, because she said she went to Purdue University, and I think I'm actually older than her. Maybe I don't know. But we were talking, and at a certain point, we started talking about racial profiling, and racism, and things like that. And as soon as we started talking about that part, because she's a Caucasian lady or white lady, and she said, "Yeah, there's actually a racist woman in that region, so be careful, don't walk around here because, of course, I'm a black guy in a predominantly white neighborhood." And so she said, "Be careful because there are some racist people. Actually, there's a racist city in that area right here in those homes." And so I asked her, "What is her point of view on racism?" And literally, did she not know I was trying to open the Bible with her? And of course, I didn't get to open the Bible with her. And so, and I gave her like the biblical perspective on racism, and I hope she actually now sees differently. But anytime you have the chance to open the Bible with somebody, you should take that chance because you never know what can happen. That person could become a great Bible student and enter into Christ's school and teach others to follow Jesus Christ. So, yes, every time you have an opportunity that you can take, you should take it because you never know what's going to happen in the end for that person. Maybe that person was Christian by name, but not Christian by virtue. And because you open the Bible to that person, then something sparks in her head, or his person sparks in her head, and she decides, you know what? Maybe I should to go back to the Bible and study it more often. So you should always do your best to open the Word when you have the chance for that. Young men and women, who are not under home influences need someone to look after them and to manifest some interest for them. And those who do this are supplying a great lack and are as verily doing a work for good for God and the salvation of souls as the minister in the pulpit. This work of disinterested benevolence in laboring for the good of the youth is no more than God requires of every one of us. How earnestly should the experienced Christians work to prevent the formation of those habits that indelibly mar the character? Let the followers of Christ make the Word of God attractive to the youth. Let your own characters, softened and subdued by the beauties of holiness, be a daily, hourly sermon to the youth. Manifest no spirit of grumbling, but win them to holiness of life and obedience to God. Some professors, by their soreness, repel the young. The heart of youth are now like impressible wax, and you may lead them to admire the Christian character, but in a few years the wax may become granite. I call upon the professed Christians of Battle Creek as a church and as individuals, take up your God given responsibilities. Walk with God yourselves and exert an influence over the young, which shall preserve them from falling under the manifold temptations made attractive to seduce the young people. They seem to be asleep to the dangers of the young and the ruin that threatens them. Satan exultingly displays his victories gained over the youth, and those who profess to be soldiers of the cross allow him to take his victims from under the very roof tree and appear wonderfully reconciled. So, talking about the youth, I at my church before this outbreak, I used to be the Sabbath school director for the young people. At first, I was for the whole church. I mean, I am still the Sabbath school for the whole Sabbath school director for the whole church. But after a while, I decided to just put my time on the youth because we started to have more of them. And I started to actually teach them certain things in life that most parents don't. And even today, I still spend time with the youth because tomorrow they're gonna become the new leaders. And you can either, how do I say that? You can either train them to become Satan's agents or Christ's agents. And for the young, you have to be very, not subtle, you have to be intelligent on how to approach them. There are certain ways you talk to them. They may not listen to their parents because, of course, the parents is more like authority. But somebody from the outside, even though that person is like me, older than them, like some of them I could be their parents. But even then, I come to them as somebody in their age, and I kind of talk their language, and so they are more open when talking to me, and and sometimes they will tell me things that they would never tell their parents. Well, what I do is I use that opportunity to open and say, you know what? There's actually somewhere in the Bible we talks about that same thing that you talk about, and this is how it goes. And this is what God is actually expecting from everyone. And this is how you do this, and this is how you do that. That way, they are. That way, they are. They know. They know that even though I'm reprimanding them on what they have done, but I'm also teaching them how to do it better. And I think that's the one thing that most parents don't do today. They like to reprimand the young people, but they don't really teach them how to do it. For instance, I know there's a 6 year old, um, very messy, but I'm thinking, yeah, the mom always complains that he makes so much mess, but she never actually teaches him how to not make a mess. And so I told him, you know what? Today you're gonna learn not to make a mess. You just made one, so I'm gonna show you how to eat without making a mess. And so I took the time to teach him. Yes, I know he's 6 years old, but even then you should teach them at this young age how not to make a mess. Don't let them grow and then later, oh, this is how you eat and don't make a mess. No. At that age they should start learning how to eat without making a mess. And if they make a mess, they have to clean themselves and not for you to clean it for them. And so, if we let them, then Satan will, of course, gain the victory. That's why we have to take them by the arm and show them the way how to do things. And when they get older, then they will know and repel Satan's wiles and devices, and they can become very great uh, preachers or Christ followers when they get older. The cases of many are looked upon as hopeless by those who did not reach out a helping hand to save them. Some of these might have been saved, and even now, if proper interest was manifested in them, they could be reached. What have any of us that we did not receive? What have any of us that we did not receive? We are debtors to Christ, for every ability, every grace, every good thought, and every proper action. Of ourselves, we have nothing to which to boast. In lowliness and humility, let us bow at the foot of the cross, and let all our words and acts be such as shall win others to Christ, and not drive them farther from Him. I address you who reside at the great center of the work. We cannot be careless, irreverent, formalist, or and we cannot be careless, irreverent, formalist, all to yourselves. Many witnesses are looking upon you, and many pattern after your course. An irreligious life not only seals your own condemnation, but ruins others also. You who live where such weighty interests are to be maintained should be minute men, faithful sentinels, never off guard. One incautious moment spent in selfish ease or in self gratification may give the enemy an advantage which years of hard labor may not recover. Those who choose Battle Creek for their home should be men and women of faith and prayer, true to the interest of those around them. There is no safety, only as they walk with God. And let me see, I think I'm gonna finish that one in this chapter, in this period. Okay. There will be diversity of character among the youth who attend the college at Battle Creek. They have been differently educated and trained. Many have been left to follow the bent of their own inexperienced minds. The parents, uh-oh, the parents thought they loved their children, but have proved themselves their worst enemies. They have left evil go unrestrained. They have allowed their children to cherish sin, which is like cherishing and petting a viper that will not only sting the victim who cherish. They have allowed their children to cherish sin, which is like cherishing and petting a viper that will not only sting the victim who cherishes it, but all with whom he is connected. And so this is the case of many parents today. Um, this is the case of many parents today, and this is true because um, I have been around many parents who know what to do, but yet, sometimes parents don't realize that. Sometimes parents don't realize that when they allow their children to do anything, they are basically brewing Satan in their lives. They're brewing sin in their lives. For instance, a 12-year-old child, in my for me, should not have a cell phone because they don't know how to use a cell phone. They are very clumsy. But nowadays, children that are 7 years old already have a cell phone, have their own tablets. I mean, and and then we wonder why, and parents wonder why their children are so distant. Well, you didn't want to parent them. You allowed the cell phone, the tablet, the computer, the TV to parent them. So they're gonna be more attached to those things than to you as a parent. And but they might say, you know what, Mo, this is the age where they need to start. They need to use this thing to become smart. Actually, children that are very into technology at a young age, they are dumber. And I'm not being rude. They are dumber. They are less likely to speak faster. Uh, and I think somebody that I know was telling me that, oh, I told her, why do you let him watch TV all the time? And she said, well, because this is how he learns his words. And I said, he is already 4 years old and he can make a sentence. He is not learning anything from that. But I don't think she understood that what I was talking about, because when I was 3 years old, I was already speaking. Of course, because I grew up in a country where I grew up at a time where there was no such a thing as cell phone. Cell phone came about when I was about, at least in my country, it was about, I was about 13 when cell phone came about in life. And even 3 years later, there was no cell phone in my house. It was always like the cordless phone, or the wall, the phone on the wall. It wasn't until I was about 16 or 17 that I had a cell phone. And but nowadays, there are like 6-year olds that already have a cell phone, or 7-year old. And I think that actually is a big issue today. And that's why many children are growing distant from parents. And it's actually because, and then of course, everything is on the internet. So you can't prevent your child to watch satanic things, you know, unless as a parent you put restriction on the internet, or the Wi-Fi in your house. Only that way they cannot actually. Only in that sense can you control what they're watching. And yes, that's an issue. And so, parents, I hope that you, and guardians, I hope that you take some measure when it comes to the soul, to the saving of your children's souls, because it is an it is an important thing for parents to know. You can't let children be by themselves at a certain age, you know. Um, but that's the choice that parents have. They can choose to listen or choose to not listen. What I can do is give you the warnings what can happen, and if you heed the warnings, it might be well. But if you don't, then uh, more likely, unless you know your child, then yes. But as a child, it is not a good thing to give them everything and then not supervise them and see what they are watching, what they are feeding into their minds day in and day out. So today was July 2nd. It is a Thursday, July 2nd, 2020. I hope to see you again. I'm not gonna be making a video tomorrow, more likely. That's why I made a video today, and that is for tomorrow. And so I may see you on Saturday, or I may see you on Monday, July 6th. But if I don't see you on Monday or on Saturday, I hope to see you again. Or if I don't see any other day at all, I hope to see you again when Jesus Christ comes the second time. Until then, bye for now.